Good morning, this is the Eager Beaver Show.
You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated podcast. True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors, the Miss V Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters. PsychicTarot.ca, book your tarot reading and unlock your spiritual journey. And the Pepper Master, hot pepper sauces made from farm-fresh ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind. Well, good morning and hello, kids and cubs, and welcome to season 6. And episode number. See, now I got so excited about season 6 that I forgot what episode number it is because, well, it's season 6. It's really exciting. Season 6 and episode 892 of the Daily Beaver Morning Show. Oh, Canada. Always 100% Canadian. Today, recording day is Friday, April 24th. 2026, and yes, kids and cubs, it is the beginning of our 6th season. All those years ago, we decided to start our little adventure. We were doing an audio only podcast that we were trying to put out at least once a week. A little different than what we're doing. Well, I mean, same as what we're doing now in terms of attitude and philosophy, but since we were doing only one a week, it was all very much scripted in terms of the news. You know, it was all there, and that we would have breaks to chat about it along the way. And I would deliver the news, and then Mr. Grizzly would read the quotes, and I would have a lot of fun putting quotes into his mouth because he never knew which ones were coming. um, we were editing it down when we were making some like really big mistakes and whatnot, and it was like very polished. And unlike now, because we're producing 5 days a week, and we're doing production live as we're doing it, and we're not going out, we're not editing the videos down, we're just showing the raw product. Because when you're just two people, you know there's a lot that goes into doing something 5 days a week, that you can't write everything down, and you can't edit everything down. There's only so much hours in a day, particularly since there are day jobs, and people have to eat and sleep, and have a relationship, and work out and tend to their health, and go out and have a life because there's a life outside politics and work. So yeah, it's it's an adventure. It's been an adventure. It's been a lot of fun. I'm still enjoying it, as you can tell. It's nice to see the idea grow. It's nice. Thank you, by the way, kids and cubs, for all of what you've done to help our show grow over the years, from that little once a week podcast. And I think it was, yeah, but we did that we did that. We started just before the convoy stuff happened. And then I think in April, before the convoy stuff happened, and then the convoy stuff happened, and then Mr. Grizzly had that moment. For those of you who are familiar with our backstory, but for those of you who aren't, was in the street at one point around the fifth day of on the fifth day of honking, my grizzly said to me. Do you know anything about civics? So yeah, he was down in the street, and he was um, had enough because he had some neighbors, and they were not able to take it as much as he could, and went down on the street, donned his blue jacket, and was yelling at people, um, that they were in the wrong city protesting the wrong people, and if they had any understanding of basic fundamental civics, they would know that. Um, there were people that were filming him thinking that, "Oh, here's this crazy guy in a blue jacket laughing at us and screaming, losing his mind, ha, ha, ha." And it kind of backfired. I guess the attempt was to embarrass him, and instead it sort of made him a bit of a convoy hero, like that guy on that balcony that was like telling people to go away and cussing every second word or something. Uh, um, and as a result, uh, people wanted to interview him, and then, of course, got invited onto Dean Blundell's show. And from that, and we had a discussion before that, and it's like, do not tell him we have a podcast because then it looks like really cheesy or whatnot. But the interview went well, and it seems that Dean Blundell, after a few conversations later on down the road, it came up. And one day, we got a PowerPoint presentation uh, pitching of Crier pitching themselves to us, not if not us asking, "Hey, we would like to join your company," but then they're saying, "We actually like you, and we would like to take you on board. Would you consider this?" Which is something we did not expect at all. So we went national after about 11 months. We did not clearly have the resources or the people to be able to really do that at that moment, but the opportunity came, and we jumped on it. Um, and a lot of good things happened. Our association, at that point, it was a Dean Blundell Network, and then it changed to Crier Media Network. And that association lasted the time that it lasted, and now we find ourselves independent again, but a couple of years down the road. And um, uh, you know, going in to our sixth season, when again initiatives like these usually peter out sometime within the first three. Um, Ahead of a lot of our objectives in certain ways. We were at the end of our first year, we were certainly way ahead, further ahead of our 5-year objectives than we thought we would be. Now we're sort of a little, uh, things have come back a little more in line, let's say. So I'm not sure how realistic our 5-year expectations were at the onset. Had we not been discovered after 11 months, let's just put it that way. But we have somewhat realized our objectives, um, the initial ones, that allow us to continue on past, year three and all that kind of stuff. Um, but now, we would like to take this baby out for a spin. I mean, if we had to blue sky it, right? I've mentioned it before, which would be really nice to be a network of the size that would be big enough that we would have a certain number of shows of a whole bunch of different varieties with different voices on our network, all doing well in their own right. Some opportunities for collaboration between the shows if they came up, and if there was willingness for that, and a revenue stream that was significant enough that that not only could Mr. Grizzly leave his day job and live well, but that we could hire someone, and not only hire someone but offer benefits. That would be really, really, really cool. One day. Um, but that's way in the distance, I'm sure. Would also be nice to have my own studio so that I can free up the guest bedroom. Uh, but when we realized that it was going to require putting a concrete pad under the shed and not just renovating the shed and putting a new roof on it, so it wasn't going to be like a $2,000 or $3,000 project, but closer to a $20,000 project. We had to rethink that, and rethink our priorities. But it is in the one day we hope to be able to get there, because from that point on, it would make it easier to produce and edit, and would also, if anybody else had some production work, it could be rented out, right? So it could be another revenue stream for the corporation. So those things are kind of they're longer term projects, I guess. But we kind of have a vision of where it is that we could go with this. So and there's, I mean, really, really pie in the sky, right? There could be helping emerging authors, for example, making audiobook versions of their books, right? Given that we have the recording studio and all that kind of stuff, that's a lane we could go down. So there's lots of things that we can do. We sort of have this idea of what we would like to be in a perfect world, and of course, with maintaining our social responsibility and good citizenship thing, promoting mental health walk and trying to support other organizations and Canadians who make us proud and that type of thing. So yeah, um, the beginning of season 6. Thank you, Kits and Cubs, and I think I can speak for Mr. Grizzly on this one, and for your participation, for your attention, for your financial support when you have been able to give it. And since I'm going to do this, since I'm doing this, a shameless plug here, I would put the QR code for coffee up so that you can make a donation if you would like. Uh, However, Kits and Cubs, it would seem Miss Shadika let us know yesterday because she and the family wanted to make a donation. Thank you, by the way. Very much appreciated. It seems that all this time that we've moved to Restream, our QR code for our coffee has not been leading you to our coffee page, but to a sort of welcome page for some kind for monetization on Restream, I think, or something like that. So I cannot show you the QR code. I would have loved to have been smooth like that and say, just like slide it in there and said, hey, and if you would like to offer us something for our birthday or, uh, would like to be part of those people who support us, all you have to do is send us a little thing here. But we can't do that. Mr. Grizzly said he would be working on that and would fix it when he has the opportunity. So, but what I can do is I can put the address right there. And if you would like to make a donation, we would really appreciate it. Or if you're watching live on YouTube, of course, Kits and Cubs, we have Super Chat, we have stickers, we have memberships. Any way you can contribute would definitely be greatly appreciated. Moving on from that part, however, your financial support did, however, make a big difference because at some point, this starts as a labor of love, but at some point you have to at least break even. And we came very, 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 very close to that last year. So the it makes it easier when you don't have to when you get to a point where you don't have to throw your own money into it. So we really do appreciate the support, and there comes a point also that when you're not necessarily throwing your own money into it, but you have enough that you can try bigger and bolder things. So hopefully that's a phase that we will get to in the next 2 or 3 years, because other things that we would like to do, if we could, are more live events and stuff like that, where we might be able to come again, big dreaming, come to your town. we are and have a live event with a live audience, and you come in and we do our show, and if you want to come in and speak you can, or if you just want to be in the audience and watch and laugh, have a drink or two or a nosh and have a good time and just meet other members of the DamFam, little socials and stuff like that. That would be fun. That would be great. But of course, um, we tried to we were thinking of doing that at some point, and then we had to budget it out. And when you think, lodging, gas, auto, if you have to rent a car or hotel for the couple times you need to get there, that was a bigger share of our revenue than we had at the time. So again, that's another ambition that we have for later. But we have projects. We do have projects. We do have ambitions. We do hope to grow, and we do hope to grow with you, and be able to offer increasingly interactive experience. We'd like to have a website one day, all that kind of stuff. So, right, merchandise, we tried that and it didn't work out, but we know that there are some people here that I think Kit Saucy, if I remember correctly, might be getting some equipment and could help with that. And that's the other thing, Kits and Cubs, is the help that we've gotten from you with the DamFam Discord, Kit Uncover, with the clips, and just the marketing, that they do for us. Every time you share an episode, every time you like an episode, every time you talk to someone about this, you talk politics about someone and they say something that resonates with you, and hey, you might like this show. All of that word of mouth, all of it matters. Every time you've sent us an email, that you've posted a comment, all of it really matters. It Again, without your engagement, we're just two schmoes, screaming into the ether, and we don't know who hears us. With the feedback, it makes it much more interesting. Um, of course, as you know, we started our YouTube channel then in July 2022 as well. So a little later after we started our podcast, and that was nerve wracking for me because I'm a bit more of an introvert, and uh, we were just a blog for well over 10 years on Facebook before going to podcast format. So it was just my words and never my face and never my voice. So going from that to this was a very, very big leap for me. Fortunately, it has been very rewarding, and I do not regret the decision. But I wasn't sure about the YouTube thing. Mr. Grizzly really pushed me into that. Putting my voice out there was enough for me at some point. But we took the plunge, and I have to say, it has. Overall been and I don't mean overall as in like 51, 49%. I mean overwhelmingly overall, it has been a very positive experience. So I thank you. I thank you so much. Miss Shadika says, I haven't heard you tell yet. Oh, is there something? Did I say I was going to tell something and I forgot? Oh no, I'm so sorry. That is quite possible. Oh, yell. I haven't heard you yell yet. Okay. Ah, man. Okay. I thought I had promised to say something and that I was drawing a complete blank. And yes, Kit Lane, some of us have been here since the first YouTube episode. Indeed. Indeed. You have. And uh, that you're still coming back after all this time. Like, wow, you're not tired of me yet. Um, uh, Again, the greatest compliment. The greatest compliment. You have brought so much to my life. So I am very, very grateful. And yeah, let's take this baby out for a spin and see what it can do. Are you in? Let's have some fun. Ah, Kit Hugh. Ah, your show makes my life a better place. Haven't been able to watch live for a while. And you know what? That's the other thing, Kits and Cubs. The I mentioned that the unexpected true friendships. that I have, like with Kit Hugh, uh, Kit Heather, with whom I have lunch with usually once a month. I'm a little behind now. I owe her a lunch date. Kit Jen who sent gifts, Miss Shattuck and family who sent gifts. I still have the drawings and the lovely curling pin. Thank you. Kit. The Ray Girl sponsors our pod page and sent us some lovely gifts one year at Christmas. And by the way, uh, uh, Kit Ray Girl, if you happen to be watching, um, I finally found where the gift you sent me in 2023 went. By pure accident, I dumb thumbed something on my phone, and then I'm looking at it, and I see the gift certificate. It's like, oh, that's where it went. So I did receive it. I'll be using it a couple of years later, but it turns out it wasn't lost, and I actually did receive it. So I thought you should know, and so thank you again for that lovely gift. Um, but yeah, uh, real friendships. Kit Elaine every morning, being Ray of Sunshine, Kit Saucy with the wrench. Um, you know, all the Nonas who send love, the people from Kingston who I happen to bump into. Hello. Hi, Hafferty. Kit Chris, who I met in Ottawa, and just all the other people that I've not yet met, but that I see regularly here on the chat. And we have great interactions with, who I hope to have the opportunity to meet with someday. Because you all see, if you are all this delightful in real life as you are on the chat, uh, i- i- we're going to get along well together. When we meet in person. And of course, all our guests throughout the years, particularly Colin Hodgson, who was our first ever interview guest, Curler, who trusted us, the people who trusted us to come and interview with us when we had absolutely no reputation and we could have just been anyone, and yet they entrusted themselves and their brand with ours. That was nice. Very, very nice and very, very helpful to help build some legitimacy really quickly when that happens. So thank you to them. Uh, Kit Laura, who has us on her show pretty much monthly now. Um, that's an incredible boost. Senator Charles Adler, who wasn't senator at the time, but wasn't really granting interviews to other media, and did agree to grant one to us. Premier of New Brunswick, Susan Holt, who, while she was still the leader of the opposition, was the highest level politician to agree to grant us an interview, and the absolute easiest to book at the time. Very rarely got a high profile guest of the sort with that little work. Senator Patrick Brazeau, of course, who agreed to come on our show and um, allowed us to go to the darker parts of his life, trusted us to do that with care, and who became, along with his lovely and extremely accomplished wife, Dr. Marie Claire Sancho, the patrons of our first mental health walk. Um, the people who designed some music for us when we got to the point that we could monetize and we couldn't use the the royalty free music for those purposes anymore, and who donated their music to us. Again, there's a lot of contributions that went into this. You know, Mr. Wolf out in BC, and you know, um, Hurricane Hilda out in out east, who come in and do segments for us now and then when we need some perspective from out there. Um, like I said, we've had so much help. So yeah, year 6 onward, upwards, all our gratitude, and yeah, let's le- let's stay engaged. Just looking at the kids here. Douglas, you should buy the house next door to Saucy. It's for sale at under 300,000. Ah. That's true. That's true. Yeah, we, you know what? We could do way, way worse. Way worse than living next door to Saucy. I'll tell you that. That's all I'm saying, man. Uh, Kids Tabby G here. You have given us community. Oh, thank you, dear one. Kid Bucky, I like marking anniversaries and looking back with pride. It reminds me of a quote from Picard. Okay. Oh, now you're speaking my Beaver Sweeties language here. Someone once told me that time was a predator that stalked us all our lives. I rather believe that time is a companion who goes with us on the journey and reminds us to cherish every moment. Oh, I like that. That is a good way to see it. I like that. I really do like that. Miss going, we could never be tired of you. Oh, you are wonderful. Kit Lane, like I said here, some of us have been here since the first YouTube episode, of course. Kit Linda here. I remember at one point early in the podcast when TNB was very popular in Italy for a while for some reason. I know, right? Yeah, the podcast for some reason was being very popular in Italy, and we just couldn't figure out why because we hadn't even dealt with the subject related to Italy. It was just, oh, there we are all of a sudden. Uh all right. And I'm sure that you had other lovely things to say here. And of course, uh, I would be remiss if I didn't. We do it every day, but thank our founding sponsors, the Pepper Master, the Misfit Mysteries from Corbin Moon Publishing, and Psychic.ca, who've been with us since day one and continue to be our founding sponsors. Again, giving us legitimacy because when we started and we could say that we had founding sponsors, and give a polished look that definitely helped us attract um, you know guests and viewers and people just saying, hey, maybe I will give this a listen. This looks like it's the real deal. And when we had Mr. Grizzly providing that excellent quality sound and editing along with it, looks at the strategy of trying to produce a product that was as polished as possible at that time, particularly since it was COVID, and there was a lot of people that had time to listen to stuff. That allowed us to break through, and uh, like I said, a whole bunch of people giving us help at various stages along the way have got us to this point. We are grateful for absolutely everything. And like I said, we say on the show, we're in this for the long haul. So you're stuck with us. So long as you keep coming back, we're going to keep coming back. So you might be seeing, and I'm stubborn. I do intend to live at 102. So uh, you know, uh, see you here 50 years from now for for the start of our 56th season. I'll be 102 behind this monitor or whatever technology we have at the time. Telling you, democracy is something you do, kids. Now somebody get me my walker. I need to go protest something. Ah, all right. I can see myself at 102 still on the street, still raging against stuff. Well, I got nothing better else to do. I've got nothing better to do. If I'm going to be a grumpy old man, I might as well protest. I might as well be grumpy against something worthwhile. Although I don't imagine how I'll be a grumpy old man. I giggle way too much. Ah, man. Okay, kits and cubs. Um, Yesterday we talked about the prime minister saying that it's time to get serious. because um, there is a lot to do, and we have a short time to do as much of it as possible because we do have the reality, if we are facing the world as it is and not as we would like it to be or as we think it should be. And this is something the prime minister has said is his frame. So if we are doing that, we have a neighbor south of us that is currently has represented by an administration that has decided that we are no longer helpful allies and neighbors, but a client state and probably a resource depot for itself, for them to come in and tap whenever they need anything to um, reach their own ambitions. And that therefore, uh, we and pretty much every other nation in North America, well, or in the America, um, should be very, very, very content in uh, selling only to them or primarily to them, buying only to them, uh, and existing, uh, not having any aspirations to enter into fields of industry or business or market sectors in which they already occupy a foothold. And in some cases, in case of the auto industry, a diminishing foothold because the auto industry, uh, very short version, uh, North America produces relative to every other where cars are being produced around the world, the least uh, cost effective. Is it cost effective? Is that the word I'm looking for? Um, I don't think that's the correct term. I think I've jumbled up my terms here. Uh, but the cars that are essentially the most expensive to produce. Um, the United States' biggest export market is Canada. Um, with the cost of the cars, as well as certain models and designs, because bigger cars, that's not going to sell necessarily in Japan and certain places in Europe. Um, Gas guzzlers in a world where gas, again, when we have oil shocks and whatnot, and we're moving to electrification, um, I think it was 20% of the world's cars last year were sales were EVs. So we're getting to a point here where the market share for EVs is growing and is growing at a pace and is going to grow big enough where there's going to be fewer and fewer places in which to sell the combustion engine cars. Um, so there's very few places where the United States can sell and export cars, and if places like Canada and Mexico and let's say South America, like for example, the Mercosur countries that we are signing a deal with, because the Mercosur countries, they have, they're dealing with they have problems with dealing with the monolith as well. But the monolith they're dealing, oddly enough, is China and not so much uh, the United States. So, for example, it could very well be, let's say, if the United States wants to kill our auto market and wants to kill the Mexican auto industry, would like us to be just places that furnish parts, and then eventually, well, that wouldn't be economical. So maybe they'll just take those too. Um, then maybe Canada and Mexico need to be making more cars for each other. Uh, and if we add those Mercosur nations, which I think is a block of about 282 other million other people, um, maybe that's a way to save our car industry, to have it to be more of an America's car industry uh, than something of the sort. I don't know where these things are going to go, but at least it gives us an option of some kind. Um, But with regard to the cars itself, right? The United States simply uh, doesn't want us to have an industry as it is stated. And as Canadians, we've started to respond to that too. It would seem that the share of cars that are sold in Canada that are made in the United States has been declining as well. Um, I think we are down to, it was used to be between 40 and 50%. I think within the last 10 years, and now it is below 40%. Um, it's a pretty big drop. This is, I think, from January in Yahoo Finance here. It says the share of US manufactured passenger vehicles imported to Canada has fallen to a historic low of 36% during the first 10 months of 2025, according to Statistics Canada data. This represents a significant decline from the 49% average maintained during the previous decade, continuing a downward trend that began in the 1990s when US made cars represented 70% of Canadian passenger vehicle imports. So, yeah, it seems that, what we are doing with uh, alcohol and what we are doing with tourism just not going. We are also doing with cars. We are not buying cars made in the United States. Um, that's that's going to create a situation eventually down the road where the only place, if we stopped buying US made cars and we start doing more trade in the Americas, or we start making cars that Europeans and Japanese buyers and Korean buyers would want to buy if we did get access to their markets in which to sell them. Um, right? Uh, we have to, uh, my thoughts are a little jumbled this morning on this one. Um, as you can tell. Um, I know what I wanna say, but I'm having difficulty finding the words to get it out concisely. Um, but the short version of it is that the global market in which the United States, if it continues down the path it wishes to continue with this strategy, is going to get smaller and smaller, and they're gonna create a situation, if we decide to go our own ways, where the only market in which the United States will be able to sell cars is the US market. And then at that point, will that market be big enough in order to be able to self sustain? It looks like the United States is on a path while trying to kill our auto industries, is on a eventual slow bleed path to killing its own car industry with this particular strategy. Um, so the rupture in our previous agreement and our previous relationship may be something that causes a lot of damage, but depending at the speed at which it happens, could also open the door for us to still have an auto industry of some kind, but severely reoriented to other markets and severely oriented to manufacturing specific types of products. So, probably more EV products and maybe smaller vehicles so that there's more opportunities for export. Uh, and in that case, we might have an advantage simply because, um, again, if we have a lot of cheap electricity and we have cheap aluminium and we do have educated workforce and all that kind of stuff, that might, and a relatively socially stable environment in which to do business, not, tons of uprisings and things like that. Um, we might be able to gradually carve out a market for ourselves, going through a lot of pain, but not going down the path that the United States is gonna go down, because if it doesn't change, it's basically going to tariff itself out of existence, pretty much. Or just you'll be in the only cars you'll be able to buy when you're if you're an American or American-made cars, and that's it. Uh, if that's the road that the United States seems determined down to go down, we can't follow that, right? Um, we have to make some shifts. So, and that's just for auto, right? We have all those other uh, sectoral tariffs in lumber, steel, aluminum, and then there are some out there that don't necessarily apply to us. But he's been talking about stuff like pharmaceuticals, and he's been talking about uh, God knows what, right? Um, but a whole bunch of other industries he wanted to put a tax on films or something like that that weren't made in America at some point along the way. I don't know what happened to that, um, but basically, tariff everything you can seems to be the thing there. So we are going into these trade talks where reality is that we have someone south of us that says we have nothing they want. That's what they say publicly. We know that's not true, but they say that, right? Uh, with a country that says they don't want to buy our cars anymore. They don't. Um, and there's a very important thing here. Like in a trade negotiation, right, between two parties, it takes two to tango, right? You can't just walk into a room and saying, well, yes, you are going to buy our cars. Unless there's some type of, coercion going on or blackmail or whatnot. You don't do that. It doesn't work that way. It's like, would you like to have some of our cars? Yes, in exchange, we would like you for, or we're open to that if in exchange you will, right? There's negotiation. Um, so nobody, there can be some bravado talk before going into negotiation room, but nobody can say, I will go into that negotiating room and I will get us a win, guaranteed. You can go into that room and say, I will go in that room and I will do the best to get us the best deal possible for Canada. And if what's on that table I feel is not the best deal possible for Canada, I will take no deal rather than sign a bad one. I have the luxury of waiting at this time as things stand now. Um, there's a big difference. um, so we have, and then in addition to this other negotiating party seeming to send a whole bunch of signals that they don't really want to do business with us and they don't really care whether or not this agreement goes ahead, and even more signals like if this agreement goes ahead, it's only going to go ahead if you agree to just give us stuff before we do any hard work of negotiating. Uh, uh, they have been very dramatic, walking away from the table, running up to podiums, claiming, spiking footballs, claiming they've won stuff. We've been very, very quiet. Right? Uh, everything they do is a pressure tactic. They get the digital service tax concession. They go to the mic. They say, Prime Minister Carney caved. And then, of course, we're supposed to take that back home and says, oh my God, we caved to the Americans? How terrible. Because we're supposed to take their word for it, right? Because Carolyn Levitt said it. Because Carolyn Levitt is the source. But Carolyn Levitt said, You caved. How do you respond to that without thinking it's like, well, of course she's going to say we caved. It makes Mr. Prosciutto Ego over there look like a big man who won something and somebody else lost because that's the Donald Trump reality. Okay, they need to frame it over there for domestic consumption that way. Doesn't mean we need to react. We know it's bullshit. We know the filter that they use over there, right? So we've said very little because we have some of the best trade negotiating teams in the entire world, extremely respected. And we know that competent trade negotiators never negotiate in public. It's created a lot of people to be frustrated. We don't know where they stand. We don't know where things stand. Yes, we don't. There's a reason for that. Did we know where things stood during the NAFTA negotiations? Did we know where things stood when the conservatives were signing a 31-year FIPA with China along the way? Did we know where things stood when we were negotiating that comprehensive deal with Indonesia? No, we knew that there were talks. We knew that they were happening. And one day we had a deal. And the terms are made public and then it has to be ratified. And there's a public consultation process that happens at that point. But we don't know where things are. Things are going well. We're making good progress. There's a couple sticking points, but we'll get there. You always get those sort of like vague type answers, more answers about the mood rather than, or like, hey, we're about 70% there, or, you get that, but on what and which things are you not there, which, trying to get that out is a little harder. Right? It's like, well, what's your strategy? Well, if I tell you my strategy, I'm telling them our strategy too. And the point of having a strategy is that you don't have it lay out all completely on the table for people to see, so that you can have an element of surprise, or they can't pre-counter your planned moves. It's like, why are you asking? Right? So there's a lot of silliness going on here. But we need to keep focused on the fact that the United States, we have a TV president. He likes cliffhangers. He likes suspense and tension. Right? Sometimes the way he tells jokes, I think he believes he has a laugh track going on behind him. He thinks he's way funnier than he is. But he's a TV president. Right? He needs to be seen as running things. Right? We've heard this in the Iran thing a couple of times. It's the president who will dictate the terms of. We don't have negotiations with Trump in the American framing. Trump shows up in a room. He tells you how it's going to be. Yes, and you either agree, yes, or you're a terrible, terrible, terrible nation who needs to be a little more grateful. We'll remember. Right? That's the dynamic here. So everything that comes from that side about the state of the public negotiations, why is one side talking so much in public? Because clearly they know that there's what's going on in that negotiating room, and they know what's going on outside that negotiating room. And I would venture to say that the team that is talking in public more is the team that is having the greatest difficulty and that needs the assistance. They're putting those messages out there because they know that there's a conservative party up here that will take that message and run with it and claim that our prime minister is failing. And hopefully that will create enough pressure from the inside to get our prime minister to bend. They're trying to squeeze us from both sides. That's the strategy. We're not saying anything publicly because there's nothing to be gained from it. Every time we open our mouth, Donald Trump loses his mind. So The less we say, the better. It doesn't mean we ain't pushing back, though, and we ain't negotiating hard. And this is what I want to get to here. We've seen our prime minister in action. We know that he's businesslike, right? But we've often seen our prime minister, that wink, that smile, that um, uh, self-deprecating sense of humor a bit, willing to laugh, drop the gloves against the president of Finland in the locker room. He's not, know, he has his own personality and charm and charisma. Let's put it that way. But we've also heard the story of the Mark Carney in the boardroom who's very, very demanding, takes no guff, wants people to be prepared, doesn't like people to waste his time, uh, probably knows more of the facts than he really needs to do his job, but he likes to have them and likes to know them and be aware of them. You know, uh, we hear about that guy, and we've seen one or two moments, like this, where you said like a little pushback against the media. Um, but yesterday, when we were talking about the possibility or the notion of an entry fee, right? Prime Minister Mark Carney's reaction really was like, yeah, like, yeah, but no, that won't be happening. And I sort of made the joke yesterday, sort of like, Donald Trump saying, you want to get in at the hottest club, well, you're going to have to pay a cover because everybody wants in, like Canada sitting there. Yeah, that looks like a nice club there, but you know what? Me and my fellow Canucks over here, we pre-drank, and our designated driver has brought the tragically hip CDs, and well, we got our own little party going on over here, and we're good. Thank you very much, but enjoy your club, right? That's sort of the vibe. Well, at this announcement in Ottawa, where he was making a housing announcement under the Build Canada Homes program, came the Q&A session. And there we got to see what I call Boardroom Carney. So we have politician Carney, right? Shows up, can take a hit. Pierre PoiliOVER says you're poorly educated in economics. Really? Say that? Wow. Right? We have that Carney. But then there's Boardroom Carney. And we don't see him necessarily all that often. But in this particular press conference, we did. Now, Boardroom Carney doesn't have to shout, doesn't have to yell. There's a change in his physical presence. There's a change in his tone of voice and in his pacing that makes it very clear that if there's a time to laugh and a time to be serious, that this is a time to be serious, and we are very clear on that. And he has no time for guff. And this becomes clear in this. He's not aggressive. He pushes back when he needs to, but he doesn't overdo it. And he has a way of restating things, I could say, that make it, that sort of has an implied no, it's not like that, it's actually like this, and then goes on again. That is not aggressive and not insulting, but that is very clear and very firm, right? I know the subject, I know what I'm talking about. This is what it actually is like. I kind of liked it. I was watching it and I was thinking, remember that point in the election campaign where he was talking about something and some woman from the crowd is- yells, "Lead us, Big Daddy." Um, there was some Big Daddy energy here. That's all I'll say. Um, it's it comes with its own charisma. And you are right, Kit Elaine. I just saw it in the chat. Hurricane Hilda. I thought it was High Tide Hilda. It is indeed High Tide Hilda. I have no idea why I had hurricanes on my mind, but you are correct. And oh boy, yeah, I'm gonna have to go say uh, uh, about a dozen uh, hail beavers, hail beaver full of grace, or grease, maybe. Oh my, that is yeah, that is a big mistake. Oh my god. It feels like he's accepting an award. I love you guys. That'll knock me down a peg. Ah, God. Yeah, okay, okay. Yeah, point taken, point taken. You're right. Um, so yeah, uh, yeah, it was, like I said, when, yeah, like I said, there was a little bit of a Big Daddy energy going on. I can see what that lady in the audience saw, and it's not. It works for him. That's all I'll say. It works for him. All right, so we'll bring you the event. The mayor of Ottawa, Mark Sutcliffe, was there. Of course, the Minister of Housing, Gregor Robertson, was there. And then they brought in the Prime Minister. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on the actual announcement. Ooh, there goes the light. It looks like it wants to fall behind the desk. So I will just make a very casual move here to rescue it. Nothing's going on over here. Okay. Uh, yeah, it just like slid and was like, "Ooh, okay." Um, but we'll go to the Q&A. The housing stuff, it's not that it's unimportant, but it's not, how would you put it? Uh, Given the situation with the United States and the whole entry fee and the whole buzz about that, it's definitely not what anybody is there for. In fact, every single question about after the announcement, except for one, which came almost near the very, very end, was about stuff not having to do with housing whatsoever. um, so basically, because we are getting different messages from the United States uh, than we are from here back home. Like, for example, saying that, or, if we're looking at listening to Poilievre's version, for example, that, there's been no talks in the last 5 months. There's been no sit down specifically on this issue between the Prime Minister and the President of the United States. Uh, but the President of the United States and the Prime Minister are always texting to one another. And over the last 5 months, there have been meetings between Dominic Leblanc and Janice Charette, who's our new trade representative, and Mark Wiseman, who's now our new ambassador. There have been all these talks. There's been, of course, since Ambassador Kirsten Hillman left, who was both the trade representative and the ambassador, doing both roles, left, and she had been there for a long while and had, an extensive network that she had built up over the time. There's a period also in the past 5 months that is, simply, introducing our new trade representative and new ambassador to the people that they need to be introduced to. Of course, if you have a new ambassador and a trade representative, they are probably relocating there as well, and there's life stuff having to do with that. So uh, you got to factor that into the activity that is going on over the last 5 months. But you know, there are discussions, right? There has been progress made in that sense. It's not only when the prime minister sits down with the president that the progress can be made. In fact, usually, you know. If they're talking a little bit along the way, they're mentioning one or two things, but they only start to start sitting down together when everybody uh, underneath has done enough work that there's actually something worth their time. Because again, a leader of a G7 nation or of any nation's most valuable asset is their time. If you're going to get them in a room together to discuss something, there needs to be a substantive amount of meat on that bone before they will get there. And we clearly are not there yet. So uh, we are getting takes from the US saying that we are behind Mexico again for domestic consumption, that is, or to apply some pressure. And there have been no talks. There have indeed. Uh, so there's some confusion. So a journalist just basically asks the prime minister here whether or not he can, for all intents and purposes, clear the air on how things are going down here with that. So we will bring that to you here. This is what the prime minister. This is the question and the answer from the prime minister.
Hey, thank you, Mr. Prime Minister. Marco Vigliotti, Politics. I want to ask about the status of the trade talks because I'm admittedly a bit confused. The Americans, when I talk to them, they don't really kind of understand where this talk of an entry fee is coming from, saying we've been very, very clear with the Canadians what our trade irritants are. Yep. You had Howard Lutnick, you had Jameson Greer yesterday doubling down that dairy and alcohol in particular were huge barriers to restarting trade talks. And Jameson Greer even threatened retaliatory actions if you don't convince your provincial colleagues to remove some of those bans on U.S. liquor. So I got to ask, considering yesterday you said, I'm not backing down, we're not going to make any concessions to get Americans to come to the table. What's the game plan here? Or what are you prepared to do to get Americans at the table here? Or are you comfortable with this kind of awkward status quo that we have right now?
Look, I don't think that was an exact quote of what I said yesterday, so I'm not going to associate myself with the way you framed it. There are a series of trade issues between the countries. Most of the issues have been raised by the United States, either in terms of things they want to see changed in Canada. There are a series of tariff measures the United States has put in place which are in violation of the existing agreement. The tariffs on steel, the tariffs on aluminum, the tariffs on automobiles, the tariffs on forest products. Those are not consistent with the existing agreement. We look forward to sitting down. We have an exchange around these issues, both in terms of understanding I'll use their term, they often use, trade irritants, a series of measures, which would include actions that have been taken in response to the American measures, such as the provincial actions. These are provincial actions with respect to alcohol on the shelves. I mean, you've got to remember, the client here are the provincial liquor authorities. They make the decisions what they put on their shelves. And they make those decisions based on a series of considerations, and they've taken that into account. So our work is as follows. With respect specifically to the negotiations, is to be prepared on all of the issues to provide our perspective and address, to negotiate in the round on all of these issues. This is a review process that's baked into the existing framework of the agreement, and as well to see where there are opportunities where we can be stronger together, and there are a number of those. We have those discussions as a whole. You prefaced your question where you don't know where this talk of a quote entry fee. I don't know where the talk of a quote entry fee is from. Certainly not coming from me. It's not language I've ever used, and it's not language I've ever heard from the President of the United States. So, look, we're ready. We're having exchange. It's more than ready. There's exchange on both understanding the issues and on opportunities for cooperation. It's a negotiation. These things have their own rhythm, and they also have what's happening above the surface and what's happening below the surface, and we'll see in the fullness of time.
Follow-up.
All right. So there you go. Here, after that, the Prime Minister here in this question, as you can see here, stating here in no uncertain terms, it does it very casually, but he believes that there's a violation of the current agreement. And then, of course, when it comes to the liquor sales, because that is a trade irritant, basically saying it's not up to me as Prime Minister to tell the premiers what to not allow in, or the liquor control boards that are doing it, and then pushes back on the concept that there is an entry fee, at least one that has been discussed between him and the President of the United States itself. Now, on the issue of alcohol, it's a little later on in the press conference, it comes up again. So I'm going to just bring it up now, since we talked about it, because there's a little more added to the sort of, it's not up to me to tell the premiers what to do here when it comes to putting that back on the shelves. So let's show you this, kits and cubs, and we'll give you the full screen here.
Next question.
Hi, Graham Richardson, CTV, Prime Minister. Just back to the bourbon ban. Last time I checked...
Was he? Wait, yeah, go ahead.
Well, last time I checked, Mr. Ford has a fair amount of control over the LCBO, even though I appreciate it's independent. But you told him to cool it on the ad that caused a lot of trouble. What if this alcohol thing...
And how did that work? Did he listen?
Yeah. But what if this alcohol thing...
I was right, by the way.
Well, what if this alcohol thing becomes more than an irritant? It's
Look, it's an irritant? 50% tariff on steel, 50% tariff on aluminum, 25% tariff on automobiles, all the tariffs on forest products. Those are more than irritants. Those are violations of our trade deal. Okay? The client of American producers, which ultimately there's a board for the LCBO, for the SAQ, for the Manitoba. There's not just one. They make those decisions, and they make those decisions in a judgment. Yes, there's different governance structures, and yes, surprise, surprise, the Premier of Ontario is influential with the LCBO. Okay. But he's the client. He's also the duly elected Premier of Ontario. He's got a majority. And he's taking a view, which, by most indications is supported by the vast majority of the population. What we want to do is make progress as the whole. These issues such as decisions on which alcohol to put on the shelves, we can make progress very quickly on that, with progress with in other areas. And I will just underscore, we understand that and this is the point I've been making since day one, is that this long period of integration, deeper integration between Canada and the United States is over. That nostalgia isn't a strategy, that hope isn't a strategy. We're not going to go back to exactly the way things were. The U.S. has changed. It's their right, they've changed, but we're looking to negotiate something mutually agreeable, and there will be adjustments there. When we make progress on that, I'm still confident that we will make progress, but and then those judgments will be made by the provinces, and we'll encourage those judgments, but
follow-up.
Don't have anything now.
Just
All right. So I said this was the second segment that I brought to you was about 18 minutes into the press conference there, where the Prime Minister, gets firm here, right? About what trade irritants are, trying to making it very clear here. It's like the reason we have the premiers made these decisions on alcohol in the first place is because there was a move They punched us in the face first. This is a response to them punching us in the face first. If they want those things to go away, then they need to do something. This irritant can be removed very easily if they remove one of their irritants. We can move on this very easily if we have movement in other areas. In other words, the Prime Minister is kind of indicating, well, if we want to play entry fees, we have a few of our own, don't we? That's a two-way street. You are not going to get any further concessions from us, because we've already made some, until we see some concession from you in some way on sectoral tariffs. Now, for the United States, they do have something on a silver platter, an off-ramp on a silver platter, if Donald Trump chooses to take it. But then again, Donald Trump is very known for not taking the multiple off-ramps that people offer him so that he can get out of sticky situations and save face. But the whole situation with aluminium, given what's going on in the Strait of Hormuz, and that was their secondary source, and the price of that has spiked all over. Maybe they need ours again, especially for defense. So maybe they would like to remove the tariffs on aluminium or reduce them significantly. And while they're at it, the ones on steel. Maybe if we have some movement there, we might want to consider the alcohol thing. Maybe the Prime Minister can put in a good word with his premier. But that's out of his control, man. Sorry, dude. Nothing I can do. You pissed off my premiers. I don't have any control over them. I mean, you saw. I told Doug Ford not to put that ad out, and, well, how well did that do? I can't control the guy. You may think I can, but I can't. Sorry. I'm going to have to take it up with the people in Ontario doing the purchasing. Not my department. Sorry. That's Boardroom Carney. Yeah, I understand you have these irritants, but we got a couple of our own too there, buddy. And we've made a couple of moves, so it's time to see something come from your side of the table, or else we're not going anywhere. This won't be happening. I'm fully prepared to wait. I've got time. Another moment in the press conference where once again we got a little taste of Boardroom Carney. And this is about, like we mentioned earlier, Carolyn Levitt and all of them liking to take the position and present to the public in the United States that in whatever negotiating room the United States goes into, the United States is always the strongest because Donald Trump is always the one who is dictating the terms. Here, the Prime Minister indicates that reality, at least as we see it, is not exactly the same one that the Retrumplicans have shaped in their own mind.
Yeah, on that same vein, I guess my confusion stems from the fact that the Americans are saying, not really a negotiation. We're laying out what we need to see Canada do, and Canada's not meeting us there.
That's a negotiation. That's a position. See, Yana, there's two parties in a negotiation. Mm-hmm. One, we're not sitting here taking notes, okay, and taking instruction from the United States. Understanding their position, understand where it's in Canada's interest, when in our joint interests to be stronger together. And this is a government that can do many things at one time. We set up, to go back to today, we set up Build Canada Homes. It literally was set up in September. The legislation to give it all of its authorities is still working its way through the House. We're glad that we have a majority now. We can move that forward more rapidly. We're already in a position where 10,000 plus homes catalyzed by Build Canada Homes, are either under these agreements are in place. We've got 1,400 homes either under construction or will be in the next 2 months. We're doing that plus large projects. We're doing it plus providing a boost and a bridge to Canadians. We're doing that while continuing, despite unprecedented trade measures being taken by the United States. We're the second fastest growing economy in the G7 with the best fiscal position, with 20 new deals signed with other countries around the world. So we're going to do multiple things at the same time. We have enough room. We're ready to go into detailed negotiations. We're also ready to wait if that's what has to happen.
So again, here, Kits and Cubs, the Prime Minister reinforcing that message here that, yeah, I've got time. If he doesn't want to do this now, I've got time. I've got time to wait until he is ready. And here, that whole first part of it, right? There's a difference between negotiating and taking notes. This United States can say, United States says, the United States says, the United States says, the United States can say whatever they want to goddamn well say. This is a negotiation, and it takes two. So whatever public frame that the United States is putting on, like this, where we're going into the room and we're dictating, calling all the shots, dictating all the terms because you don't have any cards, that's not how it's happening. Because we have agency, we have a say. And then he makes this great segue into, by the way, Donald Trump is not the only thing we've got going on. Later on in the press conference, again, like the other one, about 18 minutes later, because this part here was near the beginning, opportunity comes back for the Prime Minister to reinforce that message that we've got a lot going on besides Donald Trump. And again, a little bit more Boardroom Carney. Again, not aggressive, but firm. Right? I'm here to get things done.
Just and quickly, there seem to be two stories. The Americans are quite specific publicly, and you've just been very specific publicly. But I keep hearing from the trade minister and somewhat from you the tone that this is all part of a negotiation. And underscoring that, it seems to suggest that it's normal. That this back and forth, these kind of positions publicly and behind closed doors, it's a normal negotiation. I'm assuming, like most Canadians don't see any of this as normal.
Look, what do you think rupture means? Rupture means that things aren't normal. Nostalgia is not a strategy. Things have changed. Things have changed fundamentally. We get that. We understand that. That's why we get up in the morning. What do we think about when we get up in the morning? We think about affordability for Canadians, how we can make life more affordable, and how we can build this country strong, more independent, more prosperous, fairer for all. That's what we get. And our negotiations with the United States and how we diversify our partnerships elsewhere. We don't get up first thing in the morning. I do not get up first thing in the morning and think about the United States. Okay? I think about Canadians. That's the difference. We have more than enough to do in this country. We're building this place strong. There is a misimpression by some of the degree to which we are reliant on the United States. Okay? Yes, it is our biggest trading partner by far. We are also their second biggest trading partner. There is a symbiosis between the two. There's a reason why 85% of our trade is tariff-free still, and that's maintained. Our destiny is first and foremost going to be determined by what we do here, how we build here. Canadians get that. Canadians get that. I'm not sure everyone south of the border understands that to the extent it is true.
Ouch. Ouch. Again, there's a reality, and at the current moment, I'm not sure that the people with whom I'm negotiating with are living in the same one. Ouch. That comment also applies to the leader of the opposition. Doesn't want to seem to acknowledge that we have other stuff going on, that we are indeed in a rupture. Things are not normal. And the Prime Minister again expressing that he trusts that Canadians are smart enough to understand that, regardless of what Donald Trump says, the White House says, Pierre PoiliOVER says. We get to the point here where, and this is fair, in the press conference, where it seems that they are asking him questions based on Pierre PoiliOVER's assessment of what the situation is. Right? We had the question about the confusion about the status. You know, is there nothing there? Is there indeed an entry fee? You know, what's you know, the White House says that we need to make all these concessions. You know, you haven't signed anything, all that kind of stuff, right? But here, we get to the argument that Pierre PoiliOVER has been making about the Prime Minister spending a lot of time out of the country, photo ops, all that kind of stuff, but not necessarily getting anything done. We're not getting any value for that. So the question is being put to the Prime Minister here on this one. So let's see what he says.
David?
David Aiken, Global News. Good morning.
Morning.
Ahead of Ambassador Wiseman's testimony later today, I wondered if you might comment on why he's the right guy for the job at this time, why you picked him, and also perhaps respond to concerns from the Bloc Québécois and the Conservatives, and I'll quote from Pierre PoiliOVER, who just posted, "We remain convinced that Ambassador Wiseman will never defend the interests of Quebec or those of Quebec farmers." I wonder if you could address that.
Je vais répondre à la deuxième partie de votre question en français.
Okay. Sorry, kids. My mistake. I queued up the wrong clip. The clip that I have for you on that comes after about whether or not we're getting good value for time out of the country. But I will deal with this one since it's come up right now. Ambassador Wiseman, of course, the new ambassador of Canada to the United States, who will be playing a role here along with Janice Charette. As I mentioned before, both roles were played by one person, Kirsten Hillman, before. Now the roles have been separated. But here, as we mentioned yesterday, Wiseman was in front of a committee yesterday and providing some testimony. And there was an incident that happened, unfortunately, where the ambassador sent out some English only invitations to people to come to an event. I would assume that is here. This is from the Victoria Times columnist, Kelly Geraldine Malone from the Canadian Press. Canada's top envoy to Washington apologized Thursday for sending an English-only invitation to members of Parliament at a committee meeting in Ottawa, where he faced questions about supply management and the state of trade negotiations with the United States. Quote, "This was an error, an unacceptable error," said Mark Wiseman, Canada's ambassador to the United States. Prime Minister Mark Carney earlier Thursday said he was disappointed the invitation to members of the Foreign Affairs Committee to attend a reception in Washington next month was English only. The Prime Minister called it unacceptable. Wiseman took up the diplomatic role in the United States Capitol in February as President Donald Trump continued to rattle the bilateral relationship with tariffs and threats of annexation. And his appointment was a controversial one in Quebec, because we mentioned this on the show yesterday, because of his previous comments criticizing Canada's supply management system. Wiseman faced repeated pushback Thursday from Bloc Québécois MP Alex Brunel-Duceppe and Conservative MP Jason Grolleau, who asked whether the ambassador would be able to advocate for supply management in the face of Trump's repeated complaints about the system. Wiseman said his role is to support the policies of the Government of Canada. Carney has been clear, as has Parliament, that supply management is not on the negotiating table, he said. Quote, "Whatever my opinion may have been is irrelevant." Wiseman said that along with Canada-U.S. Trade Minister Dominic LeBlanc and Chief Trade Negotiator Janice Charette, he has been communicating Canada's concerns about Trump's tariffs and other issues with his American counterparts. Let's see what else that we have here about this. Whoops. Wiseman was asked at committee whether Ottawa is deliberately slow-walking the negotiations and if there's a risk Canada will be left out as Mexico-U.S. talks continue. Canada is ready and willing to commence any type of review process with the United States and also with Mexico, Wiseman said. We are ready to do that and are prepared to do so. Conservative MP Kyle Seaback said the Trump administration has indicated it's ready to talk. What's the holdup, he asked. Wiseman repeatedly said he would not provide details of talks and does not yet know when negotiations will officially begin. He said there is ongoing communication about Trump's sector-specific tariffs on industries like steel, aluminium, automobiles, and cabinetry. Carney said earlier Thursday Canada is ready to go into detailed negotiations, and we're also ready to wait if that's what has to happen. Let's see here. It says Wiseman says that while he plays part in the negotiations, his job is to promote the interest of Canada across the United States. That means building relationships with stakeholders. Wiseman said he's met with American lawmakers, members of the Trump administration, and business and labor groups. Americans don't wake up thinking about Canada, Wiseman said, and it's important to remind them of the importance of the economic, defense, and personal ties between the two countries. Canada's relationship with the United States is not over, Wiseman said, but it has clearly changed. So that was testimony in committee, and of course, that issue arose. So now let's go back to the Prime Minister talking a little bit about Mr. Wiseman here. And I'm sorry, I left the screen up while I was reading that article for you. I forgot to switch to myself. So you've just been looking at a screen of Mark Carney while I've been reading. But okay, here we go back.
Français, je vais faire
So basically here, Mark Carney, because this is a question about bilingualism here, sorry, I'm having a little difficulty with bilingualism, states goes right away into giving the answer first in French and then it repeats it in English afterwards. So I'm just going to go to the section of the press conference where he addresses that in French. Addresses it in English, I said. Why do I keep on mixing up my languages today? So here it is, kids and cubs. So the Prime Minister, at least showing by example, by getting the question in English and first responding in the sensitivity of the issue, especially everything that we've had going on with Air Canada recently.
Several things. One is all the decisions. The core point is the decisions are taken by the Government of Canada at the core of the Cabinet. We all represent all the interests of Canada, but I'll just underscore the Minister of Finance, the Minister of Industry, the Minister of Canadian-U.S. Relations. The first two are Québécois, of course. The third is an Acadian. The Minister of Defense, fully bilingual. Myself, we defend all the interests of Canada, all the interests of Quebec, the culture of Quebec. We've been very clear on supply management, on our cultural rights, and defending that. And with all respect, and I have tremendous respect for Mr. Wiseman, and he's the right person for the job because he's very good at strategy, deals. He's got very good contacts, including within this administration and the broader business and governmental community in the United States, which is part of the job of diplomacy. But he's a diplomat, not a decider, and the decider is the Government of Canada.
I wanted.
Okay, I'm going to go a little later here in the press conference as well, but you'll notice here that the Prime Minister is making it very clear that Mr. Wiseman, in his role as a diplomat, is not there to make decisions, right? But rather to communicate the Canadian point of view. So therefore, it is not. Shouldn't any question about being able to represent the views of Quebec and the positions of Quebec and the interests of Quebec should not be an issue. Of course, you know, the English-only invitation doesn't add to that sense of security. But there's another element to this that comes in this later portion of the answer in the press conference that I want to bring to you that is indeed very important.
Monsieur le Premier ministre Christian Noël de Radio-Canada. J'aimerais revenir sur l'ambassadeur Wiseman qui vient d'envoyer une invitation pour une grande réception.
So this here is the journalist specifically asking the question in French about the invitation itself. I think I'm going to have to translate this portion to you, kits and cubs. So let me do that here. So he says it's not the first time that he seems to display a lack of sensibility to what's happening to Quebec. Will you call him to order? The Prime Minister responds, I am disappointed. I learned of the news on Radio-Canada this morning. And he says, I'm disappointed. This is not at all appropriate or acceptable. We need to find out what happened there because that's not right. Full stop. In my comments to Mr. Aiken, I did, however, highlight the assets that he brings. Prime Minister, I finally had forgotten I didn't need to translate it because the Prime Minister was then asked in English. So there you go. You're going to have to. I'd forgotten I didn't take a note of that. You will get to hear him mention it himself here. Apologies for that, kits and cubs. I should have made a note of that.
I heard the news that Mr. Noel mentioned on this invitation, unilingual invitation from Mr. Wiseman. It's unacceptable. I'm disappointed. I'm disappointed in him, disappointed in his office. It's not the function. And then I finished associating myself, just referring back to the previous comments about his many strengths that I gave to Mr. Aiken.
Follow-up. J'ai entendu vos commentaires qui disent que M. Wiseman, c'est un ambassadeur et non pas un décideur.
I've heard your comments stating that Mr. Wiseman is an ambassador and not a decider.
Donc, quand vient le temps de parler de la gestion de l'offre
So when it will come time to speak of supply
aux
management
amis américains,
to our American
qu'est-ce que vous
friends,
avez dit à M. Wiseman, puisqu'il a pris des positions
what are you going to say to Mr. Wiseman given that he has taken some
dans lesquelles
positions
il expliquait qu'il n'était pas nécessairement un grand fan lui-même? Donc, qu'est-ce que vous lui
in which he stated that he himself is not particularly a fan? So what would you say to him?
avez de dire?
What have you told him to say?
Merci, Monsieur Noël.
And then not sure if the Prime Minister delivers this one after in English as well here, but I believe not on this one. So here the Prime Minister goes on to say here, hold on, I'll just bring myself back up on screen. The Prime Minister goes on to say, this is a good question because it gives me an opportunity to highlight that our chief negotiator when it comes to this trade deal is Janice Charette, not Mr. Wiseman. This is a change from the past. Madame Hillman was the ambassador and the trade negotiator, but now we have divided the roles. So Mr. Wiseman has relationships, but when it comes to direct negotiations with Ambassador Greer, who is the chief negotiator, and the Secretary of State, the U.S. Trade Representative, sorry, it will be Janice Charette, who will be assisted, of course, by Mr. Leblanc and myself. So this is important here because if the whole argument of the Bloc Québécois and the Parti Québécois and all that is that Mr. Wiseman will never be able to understand Quebec, cannot represent us, will not defend supply management because he's on the record as saying it. First of all, the Prime Minister goes, well, I'm the one who decides what it is he gets to say because he's not a decider. He's our representative. And by the way, it doesn't really matter in that sense because he's not going to be handling that file. That file is going to be handled by Janice Charette, our trade representative in the United States. And, she has lots of experience on that kind of stuff and is much more sensitive to these types of issues and can speak to them. You know, not only for the fact that she does happen to be a francophone, but she has that experience. Here, according to Darren Major of CBC, it says that Canada's chief trade negotiator says the July 1st date to review the North American Trade Pact shouldn't be viewed as a hard deadline, noting that some trade points won't be entirely hashed out by that date. Quote, there's a lot of focus on July 1, which is kind of a checkpoint. It's not a cliff. It's not determinative of the future of our trade relationship, Janice Charette said during a Canadian Chamber of Commerce summit in Ottawa on Tuesday of this week here. This is the first time Charette has spoken publicly since Prime Minister Mark Carney tapped the former Privy Council clerk to head the Canada-US-Mexico agreement talks in February. CUSMA, which was first negotiated during US President Donald Trump's first term in office, is up for mandatory review this year. The text of the agreement says July 1st is the date the three countries need to approve a renewal of the existing agreement or signal their intention to exit the pact, but that process can take up to 10 years. Charette says Tuesday she hopes to have a number of issues worked out by July 1st, but that there are likely still some issues that will still need to be addressed after that date. Quote, I don't think we should expect that necessarily we're going to have everything resolved with a bow ready to go by July 1st. I think it's really important, to focus on getting a comprehensive solution, not necessarily a fast solution, she told the Ottawa crowd. U.S. Trade Representative Jamieson Greer has also previously indicated that not all trade issues are likely to be hashed out by July. We aren't probably going to be able to resolve all issues by July 1st, but I think we are on track to resolve many of them and to move as quickly as we can, Greer said earlier this month. So there seems to be some agreement, at least there. Charette said Tuesday that based on talks she's had with Greer, she expects the U.S. to work out some details with Canada and Mexico separately. Quote, there's a bilateral piece as well as a trilateral piece. My counterpart in the U.S. has described this to me as a kind of snap-on Lego bilateral piece to the underlying framework of CUSMA, she said. Of course, her statements of the kind came out on the same day that the Prime Minister named his new advisory council. So, yes, there's less need for panic in Quebec about that issue because the person they are worried about will not be handling it. And the person who does clearly will be much more sensitive to those issues with the culture and representation. Again, mainly because one would assume that she comes by it naturally in this particular instance. Keeping on going here. Now we get to the part where Prime Minister is asked about whether or not there's any value to the country from all of his travel going around and allegedly signing those deals. Now, of course, Pierre PoiliOVER wants you to believe that nothing has been done and nothing has been signed yet. Of course, that's not particularly true. Conservatives also want you to believe that you just walk in and sign a full-fledged comprehensive free trade agreement within the space of a couple of months, which of course is not realistic and just yet another sign that they are not a serious party. However, let's look at the Prime Minister's take on such matters.
To switch gears, as we've come close to a year since the last election, you spent a lot of that year overseas, doing a lot of travel. I was with you in Abu Dhabi.
Doing a lot of deals, David. Doing a lot of deals.
Well, this is exactly what I want to talk about. I stood with you in Abu Dhabi when you talked about pledges of $70 billion Canadian. Wondering where that is. And your critics say, are we getting good value for all your time out of the country? Can you maybe...
Well, I think a couple of things. One, we're going to have a spring update, and you'll get an update in terms of how the economy is performing, how non-U.S. exports are performing. I'd just suggest take a look at that, and also look at the fact that from a foreign direct investment per capita basis, we far outstrip anyone else in the G7, and we're just getting started. These decisions take time, but what you're already seeing is Canadian exports to markets other than the United States responding significantly, and incoming capital coming to Canada. We're just getting started. You're going to see more, but the momentum's there. So yes, in my view, we're getting good value. We got a lot more to do. I will say with all of this, the reason I say we're just getting started because we're starting to shift things, but we're no way satisfied. You're going to see a lot of Maison Canada, Building Canada Homes banners. You're not going to see any mission accomplished banners behind us.
Question.
All right. Nice little dig there, the United States, and that comment, no mission accomplished banners. Finally, the last thing I want to show to you from this particular press conference is a moment. This is a journalism criticism moment here, where you have someone that starts off with a very good point, great premise for a question here, and then blows it, pretty much. So I call this good point, bad question. All right, let's put this up here. Now, this moment has gotten a little bit of play from conservative circles. I think it is having to do claiming that the Prime Minister treats journalists badly because I believe there's some pushback here in this one. We'll see if that is indeed the case.
Greg Quinn, Market News. Prime Minister, the Premier of New Brunswick is about to erect tolls on the Trans-Canada Highway near the Nova Scotia border. And when she's pushed about this, she says, well, a lot of other provinces are doing it, so why can't I? I mean, it's a very physical manifestation of an interprovincial trade barrier. The IMF says these amount to a tariff. Why should Canadians be asking the U.S. for a full and comprehensive free trade deal when we don't have one with ourselves?
Well, I would flip it around. There's lots of reasons that it's in the interests of Canada and the United States to have free and open trade.
Okay, and the Prime Minister then on to answer that question. Sorry, I made a mistake when I said that was one where he had some pushback. That was with a Bloomberg reporter on the issue having to deal with the MOU, which we will not talk about today. But in this question, again, right, you have this journalist talking about, hey, we're talking about removing interprovincial borders. The Premier of New Brunswick says that she wants to put on a toll. He could have added, considering that, the federal government just reduced tolls on the PEI bridge and cut ferry fares by 50%. This seems to be a little counter, and then take that fact and say, for example, do you find this helpful in terms, or do you find this counterproductive? Or asking, would you be willing to offer the government of New Brunswick some additional money for that so that the tolls would not be necessary or something? But the question just becomes one of why yes and why in another case, right? Why should Canadians be asking the US for a full free trade deal when we don't even have full free trade within the provinces? The 2 points don't necessarily go together, right? I don't, like I said, there was an opportunity there for a question that would have gotten the heart of something or moved public policy along or asked for government position or how they felt about that, whether or not he thought that this was constructive, whether it went against the goals. But instead, just how can we ask the United States for comprehensive free trade if we don't even have the provinces doing it? It just seems like such a waste of a question. I was right with him until he took that pivot and made this about the United States rather than about an issue here at home, strictly. So great premise, bad question, because it just had the Prime Minister turn around and says, well, I'm sorry, I'm just going to flip that frame. Right? Why is it important that the U.S. trade with us? or that we have some trade together, or that we get a deal. Versus how can we dare ask them for a deal if it's not working at home. Now, kids and cubs, because we must, and I am so sorry. Pierre PoiliOVER had his own press conference yesterday, and I will endeavor to show you as little of it as possible. However, that's going to be hard in a way because there were so many gems. That I almost feel sorry for the guy. Again, keyword almost. I don't think I could ever feel sorry for that guy. But as you know, kids and cubs, we have a little bit of a hypothesis going on that Pierre PoiliOVER may not be, if we're supposed to accept face reality as it is, and not as we would like it to be, Pierre PoiliOVER might be having a little trouble digesting the current moment, let's say. And you might be feeling a little lost and doesn't really know what to do. I mean, his dream of being prime minister is in the tank. He lost the election, lost his seat, had to kind of rig that leadership review. He's lost 4 MPs. He's now under 100 seats in public aggregate. Public opinion polling indicates that only 57% of conservative voters would like him to stay. He's not having a good week, and plus he's looking at potentially 3 more years of having to either try something else or keeping the dial at 11, just lying and lying and lying and doing the same thing he's been doing for the last 2 years, which I have to believe that even he's tired of at this point. I thought I was going to have to do this for 2 years and then I'd be prime minister. I was ready to be that, but my God, if I have to do this for another 3 years, even I'm going to bore myself. Wow. So yeah. And he is his first attack coming out is about the prime minister's education, which didn't land well. He seems like he's lost. He seems like he's flailing. He's run back to his security blanket. There's rumors that he's going to be doing less interviews with mainstream media. He's running back to his safe spaces. Even rhetorically, he's going back to being the latest tonal change or makeover thing didn't work. He's gone back, reverted completely back to being the dick that he always is. Press availability, should have taken a pass on it because he didn't have much to announce. It was really a housekeeping announcement more than anything else, because if I remember correctly, I think it is Pierre PoiliOVER doled out his assignments. I guess he shuffled his critics cabinet a little bit, which may explain the letter that came out that seemed to have pissed off Marilyn Gladu, asking people to prove their worth or say what it is that they have done in order to find out, I guess, where it is that Pierre was going to put them next. But according to Kate McKenna here, it says that Conservative leader Pierre PoiliOVER has announced 2 new roles for members of his caucus aimed at developing a strategic plan for the Asia Pacific and responding to a BC Supreme Court ruling that some fear threatens property rights. Richmond Centre Marpole MP Chuck Owl has been chosen to chair the newly formed Pacific Gateway Economic Engagement Caucus with a mandate of developing a comprehensive Conservative strategy for the Asia Pacific including developing policy ideas for maximizing exports and improving pipelines and LNG plants. And Langley Township Fraser Heights MP Taco Van Popta has been chosen to chair the Conservative Task Force on Property Rights, with a particular focus on the Cowichan ruling, the Musqueam Agreement, and other Indigenous title disputes and negotiations. PoiliOVER announced both roles at a news conference on Thursday. He cited Ao's previous experience as a member of Richmond City Council, where PoiliOVER said he engaged with Asian countries and led numerous cultural, strategic, and humanitarian missions to the region. Quote, "This is a huge and important task, but fortunately we are building on the strong Conservative record on trade expansion and diversification," said Ao. PoiliOVER said Van Popta was chosen because of his career as a real estate and land development lawyer and as a director at the Surrey Board of Trade. "No one is more qualified than Taco to take on the issue," said PoiliOVER. The MPs told reporters they were, quote, "honored and pleased to take on new roles. It's not the first time the Conservative leadership has created projects for MPs. For example, Calgary MP Greg McLean was appointed to lead an economic growth council last year. But it comes as PoiliOVER is working to manage his caucus after 4 Conservative MPs crossed the floor to join the Liberal Party. PoiliOVER is also expected to shuffle a shadow cabinet of MPs who hold critic roles in the coming weeks. Okay, so this isn't the full shuffle here. Critics received a letter from PoiliOVER's office in late March asking for them to submit examples of their work and to advise whether they wish to continue in their role. So these are 2 things that he just popped up. This thing could have been done just by press release, didn't need to necessarily have a press availability for it, but Pierre did choose to have one. Of course, it seems that oddly enough, for someone who is considering having less press availabilities in the sense of maybe one-on-one sit-down interviews, considering the other day he was walking up in the area of Parliament where the Liberals have their meetings and said, "Oh my God, the press, you're here. Wow, wow, what a surprise. I never thought you would have been hanging outside doors where Liberals were having meetings to be able to ask them questions after. But since they're not there and I'm here, why don't I take a few of your questions?" Seems to want to have a safe space, but not want to create a vacuum so that the Prime Minister occupies all the space. So he created a pretext here for a press conference so that he could be asked a few questions. There's a bit of his announcement itself that he makes, and this is really weird. It was a very weirdly structured press conference because Pierre PoiliOVER says all of his announcement in French first and then says all of his announcement in English afterwards. So that part wasn't weird, but everything he said in French and in English was an attack on Mark Carney. And then after he was done all of that, then he announces the 2 MPs who he's giving these positions to, and then it goes into the whole thing about property rights. You'd think that the announcement would come first, but it was the attack on the Prime Minister that came first. And during the attack on the Prime Minister, you will see that Pierre PoiliOVER does a couple of things that are extremely interesting. It would appear that Pierre PoiliOVER is so on to face or unable, because it could be ability, not just will, to face reality as it is, one that he appears to be rather quite the loser, and that things are not going well for him. The only way that he can face reality is by revising, reshaping, terraforming, use the word that you want, the past. And you will see here that he seems to attribute to Mark Carney a couple of things that made me go, huh? I don't remember Mark Carney saying that. Which seems to indicate that the leader of the opposition might need to be gifted a couple of boxes of Q-tips, because it seems that when other people speak English, he hears something completely different than what they said.
On lumber, no one knows his plans or even his goals. Help me to understand this. Sunday, Mark Carney released a video comparing himself to Sir Isaac Brock, a 19th century war general who fought a war against the Americans.
He didn't compare himself to Sir Isaac Brock. He talked about a period in time that was similar to this one. He compared the periods to each other, not himself to Isaac Brock. Just clarity there. I don't know sure how Pierre missed that, but he missed that. I mean, he misunderstood that.
He said in that video that it is a weakness that we trade with the U.S.
He did not say it was a weakness that we trade with the United States. He said the portions of our relationship with the United States that were strengths when we were both agreeing and rowing in the same direction in terms of integrating our economies in order to achieve all these efficiencies that could be achieved by working together, has now, because the United States has decided it wants to go in another direction, which is their right, become a weakness. That's specifically what he said. Pierre PoiliOVER seems to have omitted a few words along the way. If you seem to notice that there seems to be a penchant for selective hearing and selective retention on the part of the leader of the opposition, you might be onto something, which also begs the question, how can this person be trusted to be in a negotiating room and negotiate very well for us when absolutely everything he reads and everything he hears, he manages to misunderstand? And misunderstand this wildly. You would think that a precondition to be a prime minister in a government of waiting is being able to actually understand what you hear and read. He seems to not have that ability. But let's go on.
Today, he said we're stronger together with the Americans. He said recently that he wants a rupture with the U.S.
Did the prime minister ever say, come up to Mike and say, I want a rupture with the United States? Or did he say, there is a rupture with the United States? Because there's a difference between recognizing that something is happening and naming it and saying, I want that. This little segment here, times already, starts at 8 minutes and 17 seconds in this press thing. And we are 8 minutes 46 seconds. He has reinterpreted 3 things the Prime Minister has said in ways that the Prime Minister never said or reinterpreted them, and he needs that to be the foundation from which he launches himself for his attack to work, because reality as it is doesn't work for him. He actually has to re-edit everything that the Prime Minister said and then take those new re-edited words and then stuff them in the Prime Minister's mouth, claim that the Prime Minister said them, and then use that as the truth, which is not. It's a fabrication. It literally is an illusion. To then make his claims. Let's keep going.
And now he says he thinks we can get a mutually beneficial deal. These are contradictions all in the span of a few days. So
they're not contradictions. The United States has changed the rules of the game. Okay, we accept that the rules of the game have changed. Let's see if we can get a new deal. Because that would be in our best interest, because we work better and we are stronger together. There is no contradiction. But Pierre PoiliOVER is turning out there and saying the Prime Minister went up to the stage and said, I want a rupture with the United States. This relationship isn't working for me anymore. I want a rupture, but we can work together. Yeah, if that's what the Prime Minister was saying, yeah, that would seem really weird. And actually, that's kind of what the United States is actually saying to us, isn't it? You don't have anything we need. We don't want any of your stuff. But yeah, come sit at the table. Let's see if we can work something out. But be prepared to concede a lot of stuff before you can come to the table first. But yeah, let's see if we can work together. There might be a couple of things that you have that domains of interest that we that might serve us yet. Oh, God.
So
Keep
which
going.
is it? Is it a rupture, or are we stronger together?
It's both.
And why is it that he
It's both. There is a rupture, but if we both accept there's a rupture and are willing to accept reality as it is and move forward on the things on which we agree, we can still be stronger. We'll have to become Canada stronger on our own, more independent, more autonomous, yes, but there is an opportunity to be stronger, yes. There's nothing inconsistent.
contradicts himself so wildly? Is it because he doesn't know what he's doing from one day to the next? Or more likely, is it that he's using sensationalist words he does not mean to make headlines distracting from rising costs, crime, and corruption here at home in his own Liberal government?
Ah, there's Pierre back to a safe space with the safety blanket, going back to being a dick. And of course, having to read that entire line of attack because it comes oh so natural to him. Let's enjoy Pierre being a dick just a little bit more because he's coping so well with his current reality now, isn't he?
While he plays these games, there's one thing that is certainly rupturing: jobs. Almost a month ago, the U.S. slammed Canada with broadened tariffs. It will cost Windsor $1 billion alone. Yet the Prime Minister has not said or done a single thing about it. Zero, nothing. More ruptured jobs. He says he wants this rupture with the U.S.
Again, he never said he wants a rupture with the United States. No matter how many times Pierre says it, it'll never be true.
Does that mean he wants to pull out of the CUSMA? Because that's what a rupture would mean, unless the word was just a meaningless, sensationalist slogan.
Rupture can only mean one thing. Mark Carney wants to pull out of CUSMA. Because it's not the Americans that have been musing aloud about pulling out of CUSMA. We've never suggested anything of the sort. But again, Pierre needs you to believe that Mark Carney is the one that's the problem, not the United States.
Now, I would ask him that question directly in the House of Commons, but he won't show up for question period, because he knows that he and his agenda are nothing but a grand illusion. As soon as someone asks him a tough question, the illusion collides with reality.
The illusion collides with reality probably will be the title of Pierre's autobiography one day. God. Prime Minister not showing up to question period. There have been some interesting moments about that. Because, as you know, the Conservatives get upset when the Prime Minister goes out to international trips, maybe because the Prime Minister gets lots of good press when he goes out on those international trips and signs those deals, and he increases his odds of being successful. So, and he doesn't want the Prime Minister to be successful, and therefore, right? Why does the Prime Minister stay at home so he could be in question period more often? So that I can get my clips of me asking him questions in question period. Well, the Liberals have been having a fun time with that one as well. There was one Liberal MP who specifically made the comment that, the specific MP actually is the Prime Minister here. So let's have a little clip of him here at the scrum, because the Prime Minister does point out something that does happen in a question period, and maybe makes it, let's put it this way. He seems to be indicating that maybe if there was a little less of that showboating that he was once talking about, there would be more natural reason for him to actually be in the House for question period, because, there would be a slight little change in reality.
Why aren't you going to today? 1 out of 5, and you're way behind Harper and Trudeau's pace.
I am accessible to the media. I answer questions all the time.
Thank you for that.
You're welcome, and we'll continue to do so. We have a very strong team in this government, and I believe in the team, the ministers, Secretary of State, parliamentary secretaries, responding to Canadians, and that's important. That's important to how we govern. We govern as a team. We've got a lot on, important questions about the U.S., but at the same time, as I started, it's Earth Day, and one of the big things that the government is doing is the most ambitious, not strategy, but plan to put into place to achieve our goals with respect to protecting what really is, many, I would argue, the world's greatest natural heritage. I mean, we're the second largest country in the world. We have the longest coastline. We're going to protect 30% of our land, 30% of our waters by the end of this decade. We are doing that at the same time we're negotiating with the United States. We're doing that at the same time that we're building affordable housing in Canada. We're doing that at the same time as we're building nation-building projects. We're doing that at the same time that we are striking 20 trade and security agreements around the world, at the same time that we're reinforcing child care, pharma care, dental care. We're doing all of that at the same time. I am not doing all of that at the same time. I'm doing that with a team of ministers, a team of officials who are working on that, and it's important, my judgment, it is important that they are available, that they also answer the questions. It would also be useful if the opposition had more than one question, which they repeat.
Your sister, you're showboating in your mouth.
Oh, zoom, zing, I should say on that one. But yes, the Prime Minister, again, creating tone and countertone and juxtaposition, whereas the Conservatives are a one-man band. The irony of Pierre PoiliOVER's press release is that he seems to want to be introducing members of his team now and letting people see them. But the Prime Minister making it very clear that he has an entire team, so he doesn't need to be there all the time. They're more than able to take the questions, and it probably would be will probably be better if the opposition party asked more than one question over and over and over and over and over again for the entire QP. Just casually slides it in. You know, he's a better politician than a lot of people give him credit for. Yeah, this was the other the one that I was looking for yesterday that I wanted to show you with regard to the Pierre PoiliOVER claiming that he has a plan that's very, very detailed, and that he would be able to negotiate stuff, of course, and without any tariffs whatsoever. And the Prime Minister, again, had one of the famous little sort of like swatting a fly away comments when it comes to Pierre.
No, it's pretty cool. More than that.
Pierre PoiliOVER saying you need to explain your plan to Canadians on trade talks. He says you're showboating too much. You need to stop the YouTube videos.
When's he ever negotiated?
Prime Minister actually doing the blah 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 thing with his hand, talking in reference to the comments that Pierre has been making. Said, "What's he ever negotiated?" Like this, you know, other than getting Damien Kirk to leave his seat so that Pierre can take and run in a very easy by-election. I'm not sure what the answer to that question would actually be. What has Pierre ever negotiated? We can play the Jeopardy music on a loop. Anybody in the audience? Do you have any idea? Can you suggest something? I won't hold my breath. I might turn conservative blue. So yeah, Pierre PoiliOVER desperately needing to rewrite history, what the Prime Minister said, all that kind of stuff, in order to I don't know, create some type of relevance. In there, he goes into a whole bunch of stuff. Here's one moment here where PoiliOVER gets a question either he was not expecting, or that for some reason, inexplicable reason, he was not ready for, which he should have been. And Pierre PoiliOVER does something here. He pretends to not understand the question at first. The question was fairly straightforward. There was no reason that he could not understand it, but he pretends to not understand the question. And the journalist keeps talking, and as the journalist keeps talking, they add things, and they sort of like tack on another question to their question, which is one that Pierre is much more ready to handle, because Pierre, as we notice, at least our hypothesis is that he's not good when he has to go off script. And that first question was going to take him off script. He didn't have an answer for it. And then he was brought on much more familiar terrain, and was able to do that a little better. So let's see here. Just a moment, again, where you can see here that he's a little lost. All right. Let's come up there. That was a little harder than it needed to be.
Tariffs are the starting point. If tariffs are the starting point for any conversations with the Americans, is it worth going forward and baking in those tariffs for another 5-year period?
I don't understand the question.
The Americans have made clear that tariffs are the baseline for any trade agreement they sign with any partner nation, friendly or not. Is it worthwhile for Canada to go into those negotiations if tariffs are a starting point? Are the entry fee to getting a new CUSMA, is it worth going into those negotiations?
Well, I understood from the Prime Minister's remarks that he said that there wasn't an entry fee. So I don't know if you heard that.
The Americans keep saying that tariffs are a prerequisite for any deal, and all of their previous deals have included tariffs. Do you think you could get a deal that does not include tariffs?
Yes. And I've already presented my plan on that. You build up your leverage, and you make it clear that the Americans only get what they want if we get what we want.
Okay. So Pierre pretends he doesn't understand the question. The question is very simple. Here, if Jameson Greer says there are going to be tariffs no matter what, is it worth our while to even enter the room and negotiate? Because we're not going to eliminate those tariffs. Pierre pretends not to understand the question, has the question asked again, says, well, the Prime Minister said there is no entry fee. So, and then the journalist comes back again, says, would you be able to get a tariff-free deal? Ah, yes. And then he goes on. Goes off. Again, not sure how Pierre is going to be able to obtain a tariff-free deal when the whole premise of the question is that the U.S. Trade Representative said that there is going to be no tariff-free deal. And then he goes on and talks about having published a plan and whatnot, and the Prime Minister should stop his theatrics. Basically, everything that he himself has done in true Goebbels fashion, accuses his political opponent of having that he himself is doing and claims to deplore. There was another moment here in this press conference of literal, sheer, unmitigated gall, particularly when it comes to the issue of willing to subject oneself to scrutiny. Here we go, kits and cubs. And again, we have to remember that the context for this answer is this man refusing steadfastly for quite a long time now to do anything whatsoever when it comes to sitting for his own NSICOP level security screening.
What do you think of the Ethics Committee recommendation that the Prime Minister should have to sell their portfolio since a blind trust is not true divestment?
I agree. I mean, we've never seen a Prime Minister so conflicted as Mark Carney. He has ownership of a company that has been described as Canada's single biggest tax dodger. So how is it that he could possibly pass a budget or another amendment to the Income Tax Act in the interests of Canada when he knows that his personal financial interests depend on offshore tax havens that come at the expense of the Canadian people? He has Brookfield sitting at the table when his ministers are negotiating in China. Who's he negotiating for, Brookfield or Canadians? I mean, frankly, I have to be honest, I am stunned by how little scrutiny there has been of his personal financial interests and how they run in direct opposition to the national interests of this country. And I'm also stunned that the Prime Minister has used legalese to try and keep profiting himself at the expense of the public interest, rather than doing the honourable thing, which is to divest himself completely, sell all of his assets, and put it into a fully blind trust.
Okay, so again, scrutiny and gall here. We all know that the Prime Minister probably had an extremely in-depth security level screening of himself and all of his finances when he became Governor of Bank of Canada. He was also Deputy Minister in 2 departments, I believe. Again, when he had to immigrate to get his citizenship in the UK to become Governor of the Bank of England, when he was the Governor of the Bank of England, I'm sure the UK did their own investigation. And then again, to get his NSICOP level security clearance, he went through another one. He is probably the most vetted Prime Minister we have ever had. And he's not the first rich Prime Minister we've had. We've had Paul Martin. Right? And there were no accusations that he made off with tons of millions and was making decisions in his own interest. So we know it is possible and it can be done. So this guy here who won't even sit in the national interest for his NSICOP level security clearance, as the Prime Minister did before. He did it while he was running for the leadership. He didn't even have to at that point. He did it beforehand. Is going to try to make us believe that the Prime Minister is afraid of scrutiny and that nobody has scrutinized him. The sheer unmitigated gall. Somebody needs to sue this man for defamation one day. Pierre then goes on to make another really interesting statement here. So, of course, this one is, should leaders have to divest themselves of absolutely everything, sell everything off? Well, of course, Pierre would want that because, well, if that was the precondition, maybe Mark Carney would not have gotten into the game and then his life would be better. Another thing that Pierre now wishes, sort of like a banning floor crossing, that he would have done in the past, because he wasn't for it, but now all of a sudden he is, has to do with regard to the Senate. Now, you'll remember that the Conservatives wanted a triple E Senate, right? And of course, that was another thing that they raised millions and millions and millions of dollars from Canadians on a promise that could not be kept because they were promising something that was inherently unconstitutional. And that could not be achieved easily, at least not by unilateral dictate. Here he's asked about Senate appointments. Here, it would seem that Pierre PoiliOVER, number one, all of a sudden the Conservative Party would like there to be more Conservative senators.
Lose our official status in the Senate by the end of next year. Would you call on the Prime Minister to appoint more Conservative senators?
I don't think that the Senate is not currently a reflection of the Canadian people. 41% of Canadians, a record number for 40 years, voted Conservative in the last election. That's well over 8 million Canadians. Again, a record-smashing number, and that should be reflected in both chambers.
Oh, wait a minute. Did the leader of the Conservative Party of Canada, the party that uses every single breath it has when it comes to democratic reform based on the way that we vote, just make a Senate argument in favor of proportional representation? Okay, when you got Pierre PoiliOVER arguing in favor of proportional representation, a journalist asking a Conservative leader, do you think that the Liberal Prime Minister should appoint more Conservative senators to the Senate? Yeah, I think that. Gee, wow. News at 11, stay tuned. That was a mystery. Tomorrow, where does the water in the toilet go when you flush? But yeah, Pierre PoiliOVER all of a sudden making an argument for proportional representation. Really weird. Okay. The next one here, very short one, but gives you a little bit of an idea of the reality in which Pierre chooses to live rather than occupying the reality that currently is.
Minister, publicize your strategy of what you think the negotiations with the United States should look like. Are you telling us that you believe the Canadian government should publicly state in front of all of us and make public its strategy for these negotiations? I'm just trying to understand what you keep saying that Mr. Carney hasn't done this, but you have done this. Is that an appropriate way to approach negotiations?
What I've said is he should at least tell us what his goals are. We don't even know what his goal is. Do you? What is his goal? He says he wants a rupture with the U.S. Does that
Third time he says this. It's not true.
mean he wants an end to the CUSMA? He says that trade with the U.S. is a weakness. Does that mean he doesn't want to remove the tariffs to get our steel, aluminum, autos, and lumber going to the U.S.? We don't know. Has he even set a goal to eliminate those tariffs altogether? I don't know. When was the last time he sat down with the president and said, I want the tariffs removed? We don't know. I don't think anybody has any clue what his goals are. And in fact, what I'm pointing to is the staggering contradictions we see in the span of a week. You know, where he, on one hand, says trade with the U.S. is a weakness, and then 3 days later says that he's going to have a mutually beneficial partnership with them. Where he says he wants a rupture with the United States, and then a few days later says that we are stronger together. Which is it?
Glub, 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 glub. What you hear is the band of a sound of a man drowning politically. None of that makes sense. None of that makes sense, and none of it is true. But that's the reality in which he needs to live for whatever he is trying to do here to work. And you present anything that shatters that reality, he will reject it. So much so that when it comes time for journalists, when a journalist actually frames a question in such a way that they put reality right into Pierre's face, Pierre still can't cope with that reality. Let's bring this to you here, kids and cubs. He still needs to go back and reshape reality because he just cannot handle it.
What happens if the president is just acting irrationally? I mean, the things you've described are rational, right? Critical minerals, tariff-free autos. The Americans have said they're going to find their critical minerals elsewhere and that they're going to make all their cars at home. What happens if this is just a pathological desire for tariffs? What does Canada do in that situation?
We have to focus on what we can control. Nobody can control President Trump.
Gee, that sounds like Mark Carney speaking.
After running an entire election on controlling Trump, Prime Minister Carney went on to admit that he can't control him at all.
Prime Minister Carney never ran on an election saying that he could control Trump. The literal point of the was we can only control what we can control, and Donald Trump cannot be controlled. So Pierre is asked specifically, what if this is just a pathological thing for tariffs? You say you can go into that room and you can negotiate a tariff-free deal. What if that's not the reality? What if they are steadfast going with tariffs and there's absolutely nothing that nobody ever in any way, shape, or form can do to change that? What do you do then? And he comes back and needs to say that Mark Carney ran on claiming he could control Trump. That's all he's got. Now, the last little bit I've got for you here, this is the one out of all of them that makes it very clear here that Pierre is not only flailing, he's not only lost, but he is bitter. He is really bitter. And if you saw one clip from this, it's probably going to be a section here where not only is he bitter, but again, he's smarter than everyone else because he has, I guess, some special abilities. Ouch. Now, this is a thing that Pierre does all the time when, whoops, sorry, I forgot to play the clip there. So let me go back there for a couple of seconds. The clip didn't launch as I'd hoped it would. So let's try this one more time here. Come on, clip, work with me. Okay, here we go. Sorry about that, kids and cubs, that the thing didn't show up.
Complaints about the Bank of Canada when they jacked up interest rates. They've lowered them faster than the U.S. Inflation is, the interest rates are lower. So you also at one point suggested the Bank of Canada governor should be fired. You can Google the list of nations who fired the central bank chiefs. It's like Zambia, South Sudan, Iran, Egypt. What does it say about your economic education that you want to join that kind of club?
Ouch. That's a very brutal question. Now watch what Pierre does. We all have heard Pierre say that the governor of the Bank of Canada, he would fire him, that Pierre would fire him. It's on the record. We've seen it. We've heard it. Watch what Pierre does.
Well, that's just false. So if I could, your comments are just false.
Now, Pierre doesn't go ahead and say how they are false, just that they are false, and he moves on. But they're not false. These are things Pierre has actually said.
What does it say about my academic education? Well, I'll tell you, my education is in predicting what actually comes to pass. So back in 2020...
He doesn't need to go to Harvard or Oxford. He doesn't need to do that, kids and cubs. Because Pierre, like Miss Cleo, is an absolute expert, you see, kids and cubs, in being able to predict what is to pass. He knows. Just look into the ball. Pierre makes such bold predictions. I don't need no education. Because I have a crystal ball. Oh, man. This guy. My education is the fact that I predict. Yes, about 2 weeks before something I know is going to happen or is scheduled to happen or looks pretty much predestined or preordained is going to happen, I go out and claim it. And then, yeah, look at me. I'm always right. And Mark Carney is always wrong, is what Pierre McSwamy wants us to believe here. Let's see the rest of the answer here, because Pierre, as I mentioned, seems just a little bitter.
Mark Carney and I both made predictions. You can see them. They're on tape. Mark Carney said that COVID would lead to deflation.
It did for about 2 months, but it did.
Right before the worst inflation in 4 decades. I said we would have inflation, and ultimately was proven right by the facts. I'm not finished. Then I said we should not print money because it would drive up the cost of everything. Mark Carney openly advised the United Kingdom and Canada to print cash. What did we get?
We got out, at least in terms of Canada, we got out of the COVID situation with absolutely no recession and actually engineering the mythical soft landing with a great rebound the year after.
We got the worst inflation. We got twice as many people at food banks. In just 7 years, we've doubled food bank lineups. A catastrophic prediction. I also said we would have a housing crisis back in 2020. What did we get? The highest housing costs in the G7. The only
Now, of course, it kind of helps that that prediction from Pierre kind of helped by virtue of the fact that Canada has not been investing in public housing as the way it should since the 1980s, and that Pierre was once the Minister of Housing at the time where Stephen Harper cut some affordable housing initiatives from 90 to 100%. So yeah, it's kind of easy to predict that housing is going to be a crisis when you yourself personally had a hand in making it a crisis.
country that came even close was the UK. Why? Because Mark Carney, as governor of the Bank of England, printed so much money that he caused a housing crisis in that country. So I think we should judge qualifications based on actual results and who was proven right. On all of the issues of the last 10 years, on carbon taxes, oil and gas production, pipelines, money printing, inflation, housing, I have been right, and Mr. Carney has been wrong. And I say that with the greatest humility. Thank you.
I have been right about everything for the past 10 years, and he has been wrong about everything for the past 10 years, which is statistically very difficult to do, even if one tries, because a broken clock tells the correct time at least twice a day. But I've been right about everything. He's been wrong about everything. He's good. He went to Harvard and Oxford, and I went wherever it is I went. But I can predict things. So that makes me smarter, and I say that with all humility. Bitter party of one, your table awaits. This is a train wreck. Pierre would have done better to just not come out and say anything on that day. Those are clips that are going to be going around for a long, long, long time. He's a child, and he's having a tantrum out in public. He doesn't even have the discernment and the judgment required to at least stay behind closed doors. To not work out his feelings in public. Because heaven forbid these days, if one is a conservative politician, it is too much to ask them to take some moments to self-regulate outside of the public eye. So that when they are in the public eye, we can have people who are speaking in our name, on our time, in our dime, who are behaving like freaking adults. And not a child lashing out. This is not how somebody who is leading a government in waiting presents themselves. This guy is drowning. He is flailing. He's got nothing to hook onto. There's no public issue that is working for him. People don't like him. Things are not going well within the party. There's talk daily about who's going to be the person to replace him eventually. Him and only his most devoted followers are talking about him still being around come next election. And he has now worked himself into a position in Parliament where everything he has to say, it really is completely and utterly irrelevant to how things are going to go. He's not coping well. Clearly. Not taking it well. But previously, in the past, when he's taken hits like that, he's gone quiet for a bit. When he lost his seat, he went away for a little bit. Now that he is probably the first politician in the entire Commonwealth to hand his political opponent, a majority during an active session of Parliament, and that he will be forever remembered in history as someone who did that. Maybe it would be time. Might be good advice for someone in the party to tap him on the shoulder and tell him he might need to take a few weeks. And let the rest of his team, oh yeah, wait a minute, he doesn't really have one. Yeah, handle it. This is not it. This is not how you make friends and influence people. But hey, he's a grown man. And he's making choices. And all choices, at some point, the bill comes due. He's not making good choices. This downfall is looks like it will be, unless Pierre ultimately decides he has enough or it's not going to work for him at some point, or decides to face reality as it is. This downfall could be long and drawn out and very painful to watch. But yeah, Kit Linda here. Not understanding that he actually is the Achilles heel. Kit Hugh, Achilles sulking in his tent. Kid J, I think that party needs to split. The PP cult is a disaster. That party does need to split. It does need to split. Kits and Cubs, I have not been shy in saying this. This is a party that has no public interest purpose for existing. And this is a party that has corruption in its DNA. I know I say it often, but there is something inherently wrong about a political party that ran in an election and won it on the issue of accountability. The Accountability Act was their signature piece of legislation. And while during that election, while it was going on, they were literally breaking electoral finance law. Denied it for about 5 years, and then eventually we're going for another snap election and settled it quietly in court, pleading guilty to the charges in order to save 4 people, including 2 senators, from going to jail. And when it became clear that this had happened because the party pled guilty to it, the leader of that current party, who he himself has a compliance agreement with Elections Canada, did he, all law and order, leave that party in protest for having knowingly and intentionally broken the law while running on accountability, deceiving us? No, he stayed with that party, sought to even lead it. It lies all the time. It insults our intelligence. It engages in political practices that are toxic to society. And it continuously raises money from people who could probably put it to much better use in their own lives by claiming they can do things unilaterally that they cannot do because either the law or the Constitution does not allow it, but these people who were donated to them don't know their civics well enough. So they're literally, as far as I'm concerned, committing some form of fraud in order to get that money out of their pockets. This party has no legitimate public service reason for existing. It needs to implode. Actual genuine conservatives. People who actually care about making this country better, even though they see things different than other people do. But whose commitment and devotion to the country cannot be put in doubt for 1 second. Actual, real, genuine conservatives need to build something new from the ground up. This party is crap. It's toxic. It's poison. It is an organization that exists for the sole purpose of fundraising and self-perpetuating. It has no public interest reason for existing. That's my personal belief. I've believed it for a long time, and they just keep on confirming it. Tavi G. Oh Lord, it's hard to be humble when you're perfect in every way. Wow, you guys are really going at it, eh? Tavi G, me, I'm so important, I'm so humble, no one's as humble as I. Kit Hugh, PP is locked into his rage, he cannot control himself. Indeed. Kit Sasi, I remember our community being affected because of that cut to housing from Harper. We were supposed to get more, and we never did. I always think of David Cochrane confronting Scheer on the money printing issue. That was awesome. It was. Because we didn't actually print money, did we? And Kit Linda here says, to be fair, he says everything causes inflation. Yes. Except conservative spending. That was in his platform. That's spending that doesn't cause inflation. Only liberal spending causes inflation. Oh my kits and cubs. Well, that's the end of this episode of the Daily Beaver Morning Show. We hope that you love listening to us because we love making this for you. Remember, sharing is caring and word of mouth is priceless. So please tell your peeps and poops all about us. We really appreciate it when you do, especially when you share a little bit of yourself as to why it is that our content resonates with you. Thank you again to Kit, Miss Shadaka, and Kit Mo and Rain and Jazzy and Mateo and the cats and the entire family for the lovely donation yesterday. Really appreciate it, and it means the world to me and to Mr. Grizzly that you did. And thank you. Just thank you. And thank you for being with us on our birthday. I wish I had cake. I might have to go out and get myself a treat today. I might have to do that because on your birthday, of course, all treats are guilt and calorie free. It's just science. Kits and Cubs. Let's see, we asked you, oh yes, if you would like to help us in other ways. One of the ways you can do that is by scanning this QR code that brings you to our YouTube page if you're not there already. And while you're there, can you please click on our like, share, and especially subscribe buttons, because when you do, those help us with the algorithm. And if you are watching our videos and you're not watching live and you're within the first 7 days and you are watching on an Android phone, if you have the opportunity to grant us some hype points, if you would please, I would really appreciate it. And I noticed that there was a couple of other videos that got some hype points, including one of Mr. Grizzly's Grizzly Growls. So they are coming through, and some people are seeing them. I just don't know how it appears. I've never seen the opportunity to grant them to myself. I know I can't grant them to myself in terms of on my own page, but when I'm on my personal YouTube page and I go on the YouTube page for the show, I still don't see any opportunities to grant hype points, so I don't see them appear on my screen at all. I don't know if you have to have a certain amount of subscribers to be able to grant hype points, because my personal YouTube page is literally just there so I can comment. I don't really have much anything on it. I do everything on the show page instead. But yes, please click on those buttons, like, share, and subscribe, because it helps us with the algorithm and it helps people to find us. If you would like to help us in other ways, Kits and Cubs, I would put on the QR code for our coffee page, but I don't think it works. However, you know what? let's do a little experiment since we're here, kits and cubs. Okay, I've put it up there, and we'll just take the little phone here and do a scan and see if Mr. Grizzly has already had a chance to fix it, because that's the only way I'll know. No, he has not yet. So do not scan this QR code. It will not bring you to our coffee page. Instead, kits and cubs, what you will need to do is to go to the page that has this link instead, which is coffee, ko-fi.com/eagerbeaver, all in one word. And if you go there, you will find the Beaver Lodge's Emergency Hydration Fund. And there we go. I'm just going to put this here in the chat. And I'm going to remove this QR code that doesn't work. And I'm going to put the address up on the screen. There you go. If you use that, you can go to our coffee page and you can contribute to the Emergency Hydration Fund. You can leave a one-time donation or monthly recurring donation if you like, and that helps us take care of the costs that we incur to bring this show to you, whether it be subscription fees or equipment upgrades, things like premiums so that we have ad-free viewing when we are showing you clips and stuff of the like, all of that, the extra boost that we had to do to our upload speed so that I wouldn't be pixelated all the time. All these things, add to the costs, and we definitely help. We definitely appreciate your support in being able to handle those. When you donate to our coffee page, we get about 95 to 97% of your donation, kits and cubs, and we really appreciate that. Of course, kits and cubs, you can donate via the YouTube page with the super chat, stickers, and memberships. We really appreciate that, kits and cubs. We get about 70% of your donation there. But if you want to avoid the USCE Tech Bros and would wish to keep buying Canadian, this email address, truenortheagerbeaver@gmail.com, is our email address. And if you enter that into, you go to your bank and you decide to do a direct bank transfer, that's the email address you use. It becomes a 100% Canadian transaction, no service fees from your branch to our branch, and we get 100% of your donation. Now, kits and cubs, if you're not able to contribute financially, you can contribute in other ways, because the gifts of your participation and attention, as I mentioned at the beginning of the show, are the ones that matter the most to us. And since it's our birthday and we're talking about giving gifts, how about the gift of a little bit more participation in the form of writing to our email address, truenortheagerbeaver@gmail.com, and letting us know what you think about the show, good, bad, or ugly, offering us some guest suggestions for our interview project. Of course, letting us know what's going on well with your life as well, because we love some of your good news. The kits who cook, kids who craft, and kids who cultivate hashtags would really love to see some activity there. Of course, we have our socials at True Eager on the Blue Sky Beaver Lodge, and on the Jitter, True North Eager Beaver on Facebook, our original home. We have our Substack, Beaver Bites. We have the DamFam Discord. We have the Instagram run by Kit Uncover. All these wonderful places where you can keep the conversation going, and we read everything you write, even though we're not able to answer everything. And if you happen to be watching on our YouTube page, right down here in our comment section, leave a little something. We thank you for all of your support, encouragement, and everything that you do to help us with the show. And remember, kits and cubs, if you have questions about the show or subjects that you would like us to deal with, also suggest them. We're happy to answer your questions, either about the show or about politics. We love to take requests, so please send them to us. Because democracy is something that you do, kits and cubs, today is the last day to participate in the high-speed rail public consultations, autotrain.ca/en/public-consultation, to let people know what you're thinking. If you're in British Columbia, check your mailbox starting May 9th for your ballots to vote in the BC Conservative leadership race. If you are a member of the party, those will be coming out and the results will be announced on the 30th, Kits and Cubs. So good stuff there. There's a petition that somebody brought to my attention that I want to mention, but I don't have it handy, so I'll probably have to save that for next week. But there's another petition out there to sign, Kits and Cubs, on the Democracy Something That You Do front. Let's see. Words of wisdom, Kits and Cubs. If you're an Ottawa Senators fan, man, you better start breaking out those rosary beads because we're down 3-0. And if you're just praying to the hockey gods in general, or the sports gods in general, Kits and Cubs, well, there's a couple things to pray for. Tonight, the Montreal Canadiens will be playing the Tampa Bay Lightning, 7 o'clock Eastern time. The series is tied 1-1, and the Anaheim Ducks and Edmonton Oilers will be playing at 10 o'clock Eastern time. I'm going to guess that's 8 o'clock Mountain time, and that series is also tied 1-1. If you are a Toronto Raptors fan, Kits and Cubs, you got some good news yesterday because the Toronto Raptors did win their match against the Cavaliers yesterday, which is good. Brings the series, the Raptors are down 2-1, I believe it is, but the Raptors got the win 126-104 last night. That extends their life in the series, and hopefully they will be able to turn it around. And Kits and Cubs as well yesterday at the World Cup of Hockey for under 18. Canada defeated Latvia 6-0. So in the standings, they are in second place in their pool behind Slovakia, to whom they had lost on the first day. And is there a match today? Taking a look to follow in that for those who are following the success of our team. I'm taking a look. No, not today. The team has a day off. So that's all I got for that, Kits and Cubs. So yeah, words of wisdom. Pray to the hockey gods, the sports gods. We need to keep our Canadian teams in there. We need to bring that cup back home. This is the year, right? Please tell me this is the year. It's been way too long. And of course, Pierre PoiliOVER is not a source. That's the other words of wisdom. He tends to, if Pierre PoiliOVER says that somebody else said something, go back and check the tape, because chances are Pierre PoiliOVER has remixed and edited the words. All right. It could be a tough world out there, so please be kind to and gentle with yourself. And now at the count of 3, Kits and Cubs, may I please have a little bit of audience participation in the form of a Mr. Beaver. Please cue the cock on 1. Drum roll. 2. Drum roll. 3. Oh yeah, let me hear it. That's the good stuff. You did it all at the same time. Not a single voice was out of time. And since you did it so magically and wonderfully, here's a little cock-a-doodle-doo just for you. You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated podcast. The True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors. The Misfit Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters. CanadianTarot.com, their uniquely Canadian online eclectic tarot community. And The Peppermaster, hot pepper sauces made from farm-fresh ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind. We are grateful to the Crier Media Network for its support, Pete Jarvis for our artwork, and Paul Joseph Something for our opening and closing sequence music. And before we go, a little bit of news of Canadians who make us proud. Sport we don't talk about a lot on the show, but water polo. There's the World Cup of Water Polo going on at the moment, and the Canadian women are in Division 2 when it comes to the tournament. They played a couple of matches. There were a lot of teams invited in Division 2. And I'm just taking a look here. Let's see, 15 of them. Canada got to play a couple of matches and won all 3 of them, defeating Germany 13-8, and then Brazil 12-10, and then Portugal 15-10 to finish 4th in the pool and qualify for the playoffs. And their first match in the playoffs in round 2 will be against Team Great Britain, who finished immediately behind them in the standings. Hopefully, the women's water polo team can get back to Division 1, because there was a time not that long ago, actually, they were one of the premier teams in the world. I think they were ranked 4th or 5th in the world at one point. So hopefully they are in a rebuilding phase, and they will be able to do to be able to get to Division 1 again. But yes, playing very well so far, and they have their match against Great Britain today, later on, and should they win it, they would be taking on Team Russia in the semi-final there. So that's all I've got for you today, kids and cubs. So I'm just going to say, amour et bisous. Have a wonderful weekend, and we will see you on Monday if I don't pop in for something on the weekend, because you never know. I just may do that. Okay? Amour et bisous. Whoops. I'm ruining the whole place. Bye, everybody.